Great to see you on a Saturday morning and a Friday afternoon for some of you, and it's wonderful to see people from all over the world on this call this morning. We are super excited to have Dr. Strand on. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kim Fowler and I'm the General Manager in Australia and New Zealand. And as I said, we're super excited to have Dr. Strand on. Dr. Strand is our Chief Medical Officer and he is on our Scientific Advisory Board and he is a Founders Club member and he's a really important part of Partner Co. He's been with us since 2011, but has been practicing family medicine for over 40 years. He's a University of Colorado Medical School graduate and he completed his postgraduate training at Mercy Hospital in San Diego, California. So whilst he's been focused on practicing family medicine, he has concentrated on nutritional medicine, as we all know. So today he's going to be talking about preventative and nutritional medicine. Dr. Strand, thank you so much for being with us today. We so appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm just happy to be here. And I'm assuming I can share my screen.
You sure can.
And we'll get started here. You just tell me when. It just says one participant, do you want to?
Be good now.
Okay. Let me get started. Thank you for that introduction. And we're just going to talk today and this morning in your neck of the woods on nutritional and preventive medicine. And, I've traveled to Australia frequently or in my early days of speaking. And I'm excited to talk to you again. And we're just kind of letting people know, I think I may be new to a lot of people. So I'm going to just share my story of how I made my transition from being a traditional medical doctor, which I was for 23 years of my medical practice, and transferring over to nutritional medicine. Basically, I was trained at the University of Colorado Medical School. I'm a traditional physician. I believed what I was taught in medical school, which was nutritional supplements did nothing except create expensive urine. This is what I truly believed, and I taught my patients, and I said, all you need to do is eat a healthy diet. And that was my song and dance for 23 years. So what changed? What's my conversion story? Well, it's my wife, Elizabeth, and she's a horse trainer. Many of you may be familiar with the sport of dressage, but she went up to the FEI international dressage level, did very well. But when she married me, which was 43 years ago, she had a disease called chronic fatigue fibromyalgia. And she thought when she married me, a physician, her health would get better. But nothing could be further from the truth. Actually, she got worse year after year after year. And in 1995, she came down with a serious pneumonia. And even though we're able to get her through that pneumonia, she was left with a very serious chronic fatigue state. She really was not able to get out of bed for more than an hour a day, and that's just doing the basic necessities of life. And this was in spite of seeing 4 different medical specialists who had placed her on 9 prescription medications. And this went on month after month after month, and no improvement. And I asked my peers, will she ever get better? What's the story? And they basically told me they didn't know if she'd ever get better, if it would take months or years or whatever. Well, it was at that time someone came over and shared with my wife some nutritional supplements that said, and the neighbor lady said, well, this helped my husband after he had a pneumonia. Well, when I got home that night, she knew how I felt about supplements, and she really literally asked me about, my permission to take them. And it's funny, I said, honey, you can do anything you want because we're not helping you. And there's nothing more frustrating for a physician when he's not able to even help his own wife. So she started taking supplements, and within 3 days, I could tell she was better. And within 3 weeks, she was better than she'd been in at least a year. And within 3 months, she was off all 9 prescription medications. And I didn't know whether this was a miracle of the Lord or my worst fear was due to taking these nutritional supplements. And I've been telling my patients for all these years not to take them, that there's no health benefit, there's nothing. There's no real reason to do it. At that point, I started researching the medical literature, and I was never taught anything about the health benefits my patients could get by taking high quality nutritional supplements. So I just kept researching and researching the possible health benefits my patients could receive by taking high quality nutritional supplements. It's led now to the writing of 7 of my books. Several of them have been translated throughout the world, and I've spoken around the world, including Australia, in regards to this. So that's my conversion story. But now I look back at traditional medicine and realize I, as a physician, spent most of my time treating critical advanced stages of disease. When I got my MD degree, I thought I was that true healthcare expert I always wanted to be. But now when I look back, I realize I was really a disease care expert. I really didn't know anything about protecting health or preventing illness. I just was diagnosing disease, which I was pretty good. I knew my drugs. I knew what to prescribe. I used my specialists very effectively, and I think I was a very good disease care physician. And so this was what we were. But, I realized traditional medicine, we as physicians are disease-oriented and we're drug-oriented. But even what I was calling preventive medicine, when I'd have a patient come in for that wellness physical, and I'd do a history and a physical, get the blood work and all that, physical exam, I was really looking for early signs of disease, that silent high blood pressure, that elevated blood sugar they knew nothing about, that they were diabetic. Or if I did a mammogram or a pap smear, I was looking for early cancer. Or a PSA in men, I was looking for prostate cancer. I was looking for early detection of disease. But what I have learned now, true preventive medicine, is equipping the body to fight off disease. In other words, the best defense against all of these chronic degenerative diseases are not the drugs I can prescribe, but building up our body's natural defense systems. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Now, I always tell my patients now, chronic disease is really silent. You don't feel it. You can't feel your arteries starting to harden. You don't feel that early cancer. You don't know you have diabetes until 10, 20 years later, once it starts. See, chronic degenerative disease are the results of small changes that occur over decades. Chronic degenerative disease is due to very small changes that occur over a prolonged period of time, which I'll explain. However, I tell my patients now, if you are not being proactive in protecting your health, you are slowly losing your health. And that's something that you need to know. And I, as a physician, I diagnose diseases in their last stages. People don't realize this, or many don't, that the first sign of heart disease is over 60% of the time is sudden death or a heart attack. You don't feel anything. You feel this there, and all of a sudden, boom, it hits you. And a third of the people don't even make it to the hospital once they get that chest heaviness and pressure, and boom. All researchers agree that cancers take decades to develop, except in young children. And they don't even develop symptoms until the very last stages of their cancers. Pancreatic cancer. I don't know if you know the actor Patrick Swayze, but he had pancreatic cancer, or Steve Jobs. You know, they felt fine. And boom, once they felt any symptoms at all, uh, their cancers were actually uh, very end stage, spread quite a bit, and the life expectancy was less than 6 months. And even the day we diagnose, uh, even though we diagnose a patient with Alzheimer's dementia or Parkinson's disease, 80% of the brain cells involved in those diseases have already been destroyed. And so it's too late for most people when we get to that point. And that's why we treat them with medication, and we might have some benefit for a year or two, especially in Parkinson's disease, but it all ends. So what I've learned, and I want to share with you today, is a concept of oxidative stress. Now, oxidative stress is a result of a free radicals, or the dark side of oxygen. You see, as we utilize oxygen to create energy in life itself, we also create a cellular exhaust, which is called a free radical, which is actually a charged oxygen molecule, which gives it an electrical charge and very rapid movement. Now, if it's not readily neutralized by an antioxidant, it can go on to damage the cell wall, the vessel wall, proteins, fats, and even the DNA of the cell. This is what we call oxidative stress. In fact, the same process that turns a cut apple brown, also rust metal, is causing us to rust inside. We're literally rusting inside. And that's this process. Well, as you study the medical literature, you realize that the number of free radicals you and I produce each and every day is not steady. There are things that increase the production of free radicals: sunlight, pollutants in our air, food, and water, medication, cigarette smoke, EMFs, radiation, excessive stress, excessive exercise, all significantly increase the number of free radicals you and I produce each day. In fact, this generation that's walking the face of the earth are producing more free radicals than any generation that's ever walked the face of this earth before, because of our polluted environment, our stressful lifestyles, and over-medicated societies. So when you look at the medical literature, you start to see that the root cause of more than 100 of these chronic degenerative diseases is oxidative stress. This is the root cause, causing these very small changes to occur over a prolonged period of time. These are diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, arthritis, macular degeneration, autoimmune disease like lupus or MS, stroke, Parkinson's, and the list goes on and on. But this list of diseases are really what you and I would love to avoid. This is what I treat in my medical practice. But like I said, we actually don't diagnose these diseases till the end stage. And that's where prevention becomes the key. But we are, and you need to learn, you are not defenseless against this process. You see, antioxidants have the ability to give these free radicals the electron or electrons they need to render them harmless and neutralize that electrical charge. See, antioxidants work against different kinds of free radicals in different parts of the body. But here's a truth that I want you to learn today. Balance is the key. You need to have more antioxidants and supporting nutrients available
I lost my sound
than the
now.
number of free radicals you produce. Therefore, you don't have any oxidative stress. And this is a key in my medical practice and how I treat patients in the nutritional medicine fashion. So for me, after studying the medical literature, of course, after telling my patients for over 20 years that they don't need to take supplements, I really had to look at the medical evidence that demanded a verdict. Should I and should my patients be taking nutritional supplements? As I shared before, what I've learned is our own body's natural defense systems is the best defense against developing any of these chronic degenerative diseases, and not the drugs I can prescribe. You know, today my patients are not as concerned about the years in their life as they are the quality of life in those years. You know, we're living too short and dying too long because we're suffering from chronic degenerative diseases. And I mean, think about it. What good does it do to live to a ripe old age of 90 or 93 and then have Alzheimer's dementia and have not recognized any family or your spouse for the last 10, 12 years? This is what we're seeing, or we're disabled by Parkinson's disease or stroke or cancers or heart disease. So this is the story, you know. So what I'm trying to teach now is how you can best protect your most valuable asset, which is your health. Now, this is a home fireplace, a wood fireplace. This is a great illustration just to try to make these truths simple. You know, when you watch your home fire burn, normally a wood fireplace burns just fine, but occasionally there's a spark and out comes this hot cinder and burns a little hole in your carpet. Well, that's not a big deal, but month after month, year after year, you got a pretty ratty carpet in front of your fireplace. Well, you see, that spark is the free radical, and the carpet is your body. It's whatever part of your body wears out first is the type of disease or illness you may get. For example, if it's a brain, you might get Alzheimer's dementia or Parkinson's disease. If it's the eye, you could get cataracts or macular degeneration. If it's your arteries, you could have a heart attack or stroke. If it's your joints, you could have rheumatoid arthritis or any kind of arthritis, and the list goes on and on. However, we are not defenseless against this process. You see, antioxidants and their supporting nutrients are like the fine wire mesh we put in front of a fireplace or glass doors. You know, the fire's going to burn, the sparks are still going to fly, but they don't hit your carpet or your body. They protect your body. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about nutritional medicine. See, heart disease is not a disease of too much cholesterol in your bloodstream. And yet we as physicians, you know, and I did this too, thought when I prescribed a statin drug or a cholesterol lowering drug, I was doing absolutely everything I could to help prevent or slow down or the progress of heart disease. But yet, when you look at the medical literature, over half the people who actually suffer a heart attack have normal cholesterol levels. And then when you look at people who don't have heart attacks, half of those have high cholesterol levels. There's no correlation. And we've spent over a half century significantly trying to lower cholesterol levels, and yet we have not had any effect on the frequency and the fact the number one killer throughout the world is heart attacks and strokes. And we haven't changed that one bit with all the statin drugs we have prescribed. But the medical literature really tells us that it's not cholesterol, but it's the result of low-grade inflammation of your arteries. So the question you should ask yourself, well, what causes that inflammation? Well, if you look at the medical literature, one of the greatest causes of inflammation is cigarette smoke. And the second is secondary cigarette smoke.
How you doing?
You can have,
really good. Yeah, how about you?
if I don't know if we can
Oh my
mute
God, you
that.
actually did it.
13 days now.
You're shitting me.
No,
How you
not
going? You
Yeah,
yeah,
good.
okay. Of course. I don't expect
Really?
anything different. $20, that's it.
No.
I'm getting,
And then the drops are amazing.
Right, can I just ask
Okay.
everyone
But
to mute
I'm not going to
themselves,
advertise or take
please?
away the training, but they bloody well
You
do.
did. Yeah. You know what? I actually believe that because I don't smoke them, but I'm smoking white lips.
Oh, yeah.
You
Please mute
Lisa
yourself.
Ellicott.
You're interfering with the Zoom. Please mute yourself.
okay. Anyway, so what are the causes of inflammation? Like I said, cigarette smoke is the number one cause, and secondary smoke the same. We know that there's a product called homocysteine that is a byproduct of protein metabolism, and if we're low in our B vitamins, those go up and can definitely cause inflammation of your arteries. High blood pressure or oxidized LDL cholesterol, which is changed. That's the ones that are changed or oxidized by these excessive free radicals. But the big one is those people who have prediabetes or diabetes. And half the population in the US and Canada, and I'm sure it's pretty much similar in Australia, is due to that. So what we need to do is really pay attention, because Dr. Gerald Ravens of Stanford, who actually identified this insulin resistance syndrome or prediabetes, said when you tip over into this abnormal metabolic state, you start to gain unusual amount of weight around your middle, your blood pressure goes up, your triglycerides go up, your blood sugars go up. You have a 20-fold increased risk of getting cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, or strokes. Now, my recent study also showed that there's a possibility of actual infection of your arteries, causing this infection caused by a nanobacteria, in which the immune system's trying to destroy it and creating inflammation, but we're not able to, because this nanobacteria has a characteristic of creating calcium around it. And that's one of the theories of why calcium or hardening of the arteries occurs, because of this infection. But what happens is lifestyles, and taking nutritional supplements can absolutely reduce all these causes of inflammation, other than cigarette smoke, which I always tell my patients, this is the worst health habit you have, and significantly increases your risk of both cancers, heart disease, and stroke. But then if we go ahead and let me just, I'm kind of stuck here. I don't know just 1 second here. Here we go. So then let's look at cancers. Researchers, as I mentioned earlier, take decades to develop. And the leading theory of the development or the root cause of cancer is oxidative stress. We have those patients who have higher levels of antioxidants in their bloodstream have the least risk of developing cancer. Excuse me, just take a drink of water here. And antioxidants have also been shown that they can reverse precancerous lesions. And nutritional supplementation also is known to optimize your body's natural immune system, or our great protector. So here is, on the top of this graph, is what I call the promotion and progression of cancer. We call it carcinogenesis. But what happens is when you have a normal cell over here, let me just highlight this a little bit better. You have a normal cell here. If you have excessive free radicals around the DNA, we actually know the spiral staircase gets damaged, and they know what part of the spiral staircase gets damaged the most. Well, once that's damaged and a cell replicates, it becomes a mutated cell. Then there's more free radical damage, and then this process keeps going and going until eventually you have a precancerous lesion. Well, then this precancerous lesion gets more free radical damage, and you develop a true cancer. Well, what all researchers are looking at is a concept of cancer prevention, and we call that chemoprevention. And what we find is that if you take nutritional supplements, and balance is the key, and you have more antioxidants than free radicals, that normal cell doesn't get damaged in the beginning. But they have shown studies, especially on cancers on the skin, like in the mouth, it's called leukoplakia, or in the women on the cervix, it's cervical dysplasia. Those are precancerous lesions. They have given these people high quality, optimal levels of antioxidants, and have seen various studies showing in the range of 60 to 70% of the time, these cancer cells can go all the way back to normal. That's on the bottom line. It's inhibition, protecting the cell to begin with. Even if you do have damage, there's regression and repair. So taking nutritional supplements and building your body's natural defense systems is one of the greatest ways you can try to prevent even having cancers, or if you even have pre-malignant lesions, they've been shown that they can improve. Now, when it comes to Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's disease, the medical literature shows that oxidative stress is the major root cause of these two diseases. The problem is when I first diagnose a patient in my medical practice as having Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, 80% of the brain cells involved have already been destroyed. So we're behind the 8 ball. We really can't help. I think many of us can remember Muhammad Ali, the great boxer, and he got Parkinson's disease in his late 40s, and for the first few years he at least could function. But if you watch the Olympics where he lit the torch on the Olympic Games, I mean, he could hardly walk, and I mean, he could afford all the medicine, everything. The same thing with dementia. If you've had anybody in your family with Alzheimer's, we give these potent drugs, we do all this, but do you ever see them get better? For a while you might think, oh, it slowed it down, it did this, but I have never in my medical practice ever seen anybody with Alzheimer's improve. Therefore, prevention is the key. And again, the higher levels of antioxidants, especially these essential fats, vitamin D, studies are coming out of Germany showing tremendous improvement with the higher levels of vitamin D. You significantly decrease your risk of developing both of these diseases. So that's just a kind of a glance looking at what I see in my medical practice. So now I'm going to just teach you just some health concepts. And one is cellular nutrition. Now, I define cellular nutrition as providing all the essential nutrients to the cell at their optimal or advanced levels, not RDA levels or recommended dietary allowance, which were only created to eliminate what we call acute deficiency diseases like pellagra or scurvy. We're talking about optimal advanced levels that help chronic degenerative diseases. And these studies have shown that these nutritional supplements at these levels provide a health benefit. Now, in Partner Co, we have Optimal M and Optimal V. And if you read my books, I've got 2 pages in my books explaining what makes up cellular nutrition or what are essential nutrients. Well, when readers see this or my patients see this, they kind of get a shake and, gee, I got to take all those pills, 30, 40, 50 pills. No, what you do is Partner Co has looked at the worldwide medical literature. I've looked at every nutrient in Optimal M and Optimal V and matched it up with what I know about the medical literature. So it's the optimal but safe levels. And so you have Optimal M, you take 2 minerals morning and night with your food, and 3 Optimal V morning and night, and you've given yourself cellular nutrition. And this is key because when we do studies, we basically are looking at one study at a time, or one nutrient at a time in each study. So we'll do a study on vitamin E, then maybe one on vitamin C, then one on magnesium, one on vitamin D. We study nutrients like we do drugs. But see, vitamin E is not a drug. Vitamin C is not a drug. These are nutrients that you get from your food. But now, because of supplementation, you can get them at levels you can't obtain from your food. And these optimal levels have shown these health benefits, but when you put them together, there's a synergy. You see, antioxidants work in various parts of the body against different free radicals. For example, vitamin C is the most potent antioxidant within the plasma or blood. Vitamin E is the most potent antioxidant within the cell membrane. A very potent intracellular antioxidant is called glutathione. But you look at glutathione, they do a study that shows that if you don't have selenium, you can have all the glutathione in your cell in your cells that you need. But if you don't have the selenium, it can't function at its optimal level. So you need the so-called antioxidant minerals, selenium, magnesium, copper, zinc. All of these work together. You need them. And also you need the B cofactors, folic acid, B12, 1, 6. All of these, you need the antioxidants needs this to function at their optimal level. But here's what a lot of people don't realize, that vitamin C can replenish vitamin E, so it can be used over and over and over again. In fact, another potent antioxidant called alpha lipoic acid can actually regenerate vitamin E and that intracellular glutathione. So it can be used over and over again. So 1 + 1 is not 2, but it becomes 20, 30, or 40. And remember, my concept is balance is the key. You want the most potent antioxidants and all their supporting nutrients. And that's your best chance to bring oxidative stress back under control. So this is what I do in my medical practice. I really point out that balance is the key. You want to have more antioxidants and their supporting nutrients than the number of free radicals you are producing. Then there will be no oxidative stress, which is the root cause of all these chronic degenerative diseases you and I want to avoid. So here's something you have to understand. Cellular nutrition is about health, not disease. Even though I've talked to you about all of these different diseases and everything, because when you take cellular nutrition, you're optimizing your body's natural defense systems, the natural antioxidant defense system, the natural immune system, which is your great protector. And we don't realize it, but our body is a tremendous natural repair system. It's repairing all the time. And so this is where, I get in arguments sometimes with my peers. They'll come up to me and say, Ray, my doctor friends, I say, why are you recommending supplements to your patients? And I'll answer that by asking, well, have you ever recommended exercise to your patients? And they say, yeah. I said, well, why do you do that? Well, I think my patients who have a consistent, modest exercise program have a health benefit over those that don't. And I could say the same thing about a healthy diet. But then I say, well, what do you base that on? Well, I base that on the medical literature. And so I ask them, well, then when you recommend exercise to your patients, are you treating a disease? And of course they say, no. Well, see, I've studied the medical literature and I know my patients that take high quality, complete and balanced nutritional supplements have a health benefit over those patients who don't. Now, does that mean we're going to live forever, do this? No, but it's the quality of life. If we can live till we die or the years in our life we're living and not struggling with these chronic diseases, there's some value there, because my patients feel they'll always have their health until they lose it. That's what I do in my practice. I'm telling people they're losing their health at one extent or another. And I'll tell you, it's much easier to protect your health than it is to try to regain your health once you've lost it. So I explain to my patients, and in my books, I share, well, how do we choose a high quality nutrition supplements? Well, first of all, when I went from, just traditional medicine into nutritional medicine, the most difficult thing I had to do was realize that supplementation is an unregulated market. The FDA here in the United States looks at them as if they're foods. There's no standard. And even though they talk about this and that, it is not required. Most companies that make nutritional supplements follow no standards. They don't get the high quality. There's toxins in their supplements. They're not absorbed. They're not in the optimal levels, but they're cheap. And I always tell my patients, don't sell your health to the lowest bidder. But the other thing is even if they do food grade good manufacturing practices, they only need about 25 or 30% that they say on the label in their tablet or capsule. What you want is someone that does pharmaceutical grade manufacturing, and that's important. But also, you want a manufacturer that has asked the FDA, which they're not required to do, to come in and register them so that what they're claiming they document and certify that it is true. You want your supplements to be complete and balanced. You want them the highest quality, pharmaceutical grade raw products manufactured in a pharmaceutical fashion, because you have to rely on the company because there's no regulation in the FDA or any of our regulatory agencies. But I even like the manufacturers to be over the counter, able or be approved to manufacture over the counter drugs. But here's what happens. A lot of companies, and this is not true of Partner Co because they hit every one of these. They make, a lot of companies make claims that they do this, but they will not turn their products over to a third party, an independent lab, to test them, to say, so we can be assured that what they're claiming is actually happening. But not true with Partner Co. They turn them over to both USP and NSF certified labs. And what that means is they take it and they've actually looked at every single nutrient, that number one, it's the highest quality, that it's absorbed. They do blood testing, blood levels, and that's what you need. That's what I as a physician want for my patients, because I know they can receive all of these health benefits. So here's the lineup of some that you need to look at, and this is the Nutrify brands, and every one of these are great. They follow all of these quality procedures, plus they're high quality raw products. And I'll just share with you a little bit on my approach as we close here. So everybody asks me, well, what's my approach with nutritional medicine? Well, first of all, I've always believed in a healthy diet, eating healthy food, whole foods. Organic is better. Just fruits and vegetables and the good fats, the good proteins, and the good carbohydrates. I also believe my patients should be exercising. The only thing our bodies cannot handle is inactivity. So I want them to do a consistent, modest exercise program. They don't have to be a marathon runner. In fact, over-exercise has been shown to be dangerous to your health unless you're on high levels of nutritional supplements. But what happens is that if we're just doing modest activity, there's a health benefit. Well, I've read the medical literature, and I want all my patients, whether they feel great or that, know anything's going on. Remember, I told you chronic disease is silent. You don't feel it. You don't know when you're losing your health or doing that. And as I share, if you're not being proactive in protecting your health, you're slowly losing your health. And so the basis of all my patients, I want them on cellular nutrition. Now, there's different ways to get it. I like the optimals because they contain the minerals. And the thing is, you can measure exactly so they match up with a medical literature, and you're getting it, and they're the safe levels. I mean, just for example, just vitamin D. If you take the levels of vitamin D, which is 2,000 IU, you decrease your risk of all viral illnesses by about 75%, including anything like COVID or anything that might come along like that in the future. Vitamin D is critical in protecting our memory, our brain, all of that. It's also very good. Just that in itself decreases your risk of cancer. That's just one nutrient. You combine them with all these other. So I want my patients having a healthy diet, modest exercise, and be taking nutritional supplements. Now, I have a lot of patients that come to me who have already lost their health. And in that case, if they have MS, or they've got heart disease, they have cancer, they have rheumatoid arthritis, the medical literature shows me they have much more in the way of free radical production than someone who's healthy. So to bring that into balance, I have to add enhancers to the cellular nutrition, not the enhancers by themselves. And just to review, enhancers or optimizers are added to the cellular nutrition. These are usually more potent antioxidants or unique nutritional supplements. Individuals decide to add these for specific reasons or concerns, and that's what I do in my medical practice. But when added to cellular nutrition, all of these enhancers are more effective. Now, the one I really like is vanillin. Now, grapeseed extract in itself is 50 times more potent than vitamin C and 50 times more potent than vitamin E. Now, it's one of the most potent nutrients. And I'll tell you, Partner Co. went to get the most potent grapeseed extract they could find, which was in Italy, private company called Indina. And they actually test for over 300 toxins and pollutants in their grapeseed extract and eliminate them before they even send them to Partner Co. That's the #1 grapeseed extract in the world. But the thing I like is it's also a natural anti-inflammatory. We all have too much inflammation in our body. And so adding Vanali significantly decreases that inflammation. But here's another thing. It's also a natural anti-allergen. So many of us have allergy problems, hay fever, asthma, all of this. And I use this in my patients who are suffering from allergies. It really helps, especially over time. You know, nothing happens. It's not like medicine. It doesn't happen overnight. I tell my mothers if they have a child with asthma and they start some Vanali to their cellular nutrition in their children, what they do is they go ahead and they'll be better if they start in the fall, they're better in the spring. If they start in the spring, they're better in the fall. But another unique thing about Vanali is that it penetrates all tissue, but especially the brain, eyes, and nerves. And so there's great protection to the eyes, great protection to the brain. And, you know, these are the things that I really, if I have family members who are patients whose family members have, you know, suffered Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, and they want to try to do the best they can to prevent it, I add Vanali. You know, that's how I do this. So even if I'm not treating disease, if people are concerned about these things, that's what they do. Another enhancer that I really like is BioPro Q. Now, BioPro Q is the highest quality again, CoQ10, and the most absorbed. It's a ubiquinol, and it's produced by Konica. It's pharmaceutical grade. They're the only ones. It's a patented form of CoQ10, and it's ubiquinol form. It is absorbed 5 to 10 times greater than the the oxidized, or it's called ubiquinone form. And CoQ10 is important because it's responsible for for over 90% of the energy production in each and every cell in the body. So it's key for every cell. And as we get older, our CoQ10 levels go down. But it is really key for those high energy cells like the heart, the brain, and our immune system. It is one of the most potent antioxidants, not only in our body because it's concentrated around the energy producing part of the cell, but it's also very critical for the immune system. And it really optimizes our immune system. So I add BioPro Q in my patients that are being treated for cancer, on chemotherapeutic drugs, those that have heart failure because they got a weak heart or they've got with wonderful results, but I add it to the cellular nutrition. Now, this is a booklet, and it's actually a PDF file that I wrote, and it's the 5 essential concepts for optimal health. It's basically a summary of what I've shared with you today. Now, I'm going to send this to Kim. It's free. I'm going to let her send it to all the leaders, and you spread it out. It's yours. It's a gift from me. And it's simple, understandable. You can read through it. And if I confuse you today, it lays it out real nice. But it's a PDF file. So you can send it to anybody in your organization or anybody you want. Share it on social media. That's fine. The other book that is available, it's on Amazon. It's What Your Doctor Doesn't Know About Nutritional Medicine. And this one is what I started. It's actually, I know it's in Australia, or was. In fact, the publishing company was Strand Publishing. So I remember that. That was an easy thing to remember. But you can go to Amazon. You can get it as an ebook. I think it's even now on as an audio. HarperCollins is my publisher. They control all this. But you can get it as an ebook. but it goes through everything, and every story in that book is documented in my medical practice. You're going to see stories of improvement of health. I give a little bit more in principles, but that is key. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing here and turn it back to you. Just I don't let you close this or whatever you'd like.
Thank you, Dr. Strand. You know, I have no words really. How long have we been on? 45 minutes. The last 45 minutes has been absolutely amazing. We in Australia haven't had this kind of information. And I know on behalf of everyone, I'm so, so grateful that you've given us your time today. We'd love to have you back again. In fact, we'd love you to come to our conference next year. So I'm going to be working on that to have you and your wife come to Australia for our conference, because I think it'd be incredible. So a huge thank you to everyone. I will get that PDF out to you as soon as I receive it from Dr. Strand. And I know that each and every one of you have enjoyed the information that you've received today. So thank you, everyone, and have a beautiful Saturday. Have a lovely Friday night, Dr. Strand.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.